called Do It by Feet. And I'm going to tell my personal story with healing my own feet and share some information about medicine, nice stories, stuff that you can implement perhaps if it fits you. And now, without further ado, take a look at the planets, because I'm also an astrologer for those of you who do not regularly watch this channel. I like to look at the map of the current chart when I begin an episode, especially when I begin a new series. Do we have a problem? Turning it into my area. Yes. Um, Great. So right now, this is the timing with, okay, we have Mercury ruled ascendant, Jupiter hour. I kind of guessed it's going to be a Jupiter hour, which I love. Day of the Sun, which Sun rules my sixth house. Sun is in Pisces. Sun's not doing very much. Mercury is finally aspecting Mars in Gemini, hard aspected by the moon that just entered Gemini, which is in the 10th house, and originally my Chiron is in Gemini. So the moon is on my Chiron as I am talking about this. So Chiron is kind of the place where there was an aspect of yourself that wasn't accepted as you were a child. We all have that, and to heal that, you need to go your own way. Chiron is the place where to find the cure for the health problem that you deal there, you would have to go your own way. Regular psychologists wouldn't do. Some other, even healers or shamans wouldn't completely do. You kind of have to find your own path into that medicine. So that's that makes sense. Descendant is actually, and Neptune is on my ascendant, right on my ascendant, and having Neptune on your ascendant, this is the third time I believe it crosses my ascendant. It's already the direct motion, but I believe it will have another round a round of applause in 2026. So having Neptune crossing your ascendant is kind of a place where Neptune rules medicine, so you can get a chance to diagnose something that was hidden because Neptune is missing. Of course, people can also die, right, with this transit, because Neptune can rule the type of ailments that go undiagnosed. And indeed, last year, I had a tremendous breakdown. I was taking certain pills just to make sure that that my doctors are calm, and I was prescribed something that nearly killed me, but they didn't identify it at the ER because it caused sugar drops, and they didn't identify it. But it was fortunate, and so for 1 week I was only me and God, and I learned to channel. So we're already kind of delving into to how that reflected in my feet, and how my mental health reflected in my feet as well, which was so surprising to me. I did not expect that. So, um, and at that point, I had to do what I listen to my own voice rather than to what I was told, and understand that I rather have my doctors worried and me healthy than the other way around. And what Neptune did, that was like reversing the place where your voice is not heard, you're not seen, you're not believed. I was hearing me, I was listening to me, and then I could speak, and I would speak with a lot of medical help, like healthcare from ERs to psychiatrists to shamans and practitioners um, along the journey. So that was very interesting. And then the person who saved me was me, right? In listening to channel, I was channeling, but the person who did the action, who was in the physical, I was all alone. That was me. There was nobody else. So yeah, Jupiter deals also with our liver, according to Vedic, yeah, Vedic astrology. Jupiter is also ruling semen, so children, fertility, the bringer of children, our philosophies, and so on and so forth, and the lungs, so breathing, the expansion. Okay, Saturn is the contraction. Um, so this episode, I just wanted to begin with something that I'm already not beginning with, but I'm gonna go back to it, and that is a joke about the meridian of the spleen that became real. When I was reading into Chinese medicine, I was working on my thesis proposal, and that necessitated me learning at least the fundamentals about um, various types of what people call alternative medicines, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, um, stuff to do, articles about homeopathy. Is it a science? Is it not scientific? And chakras and whatnot. And as I was reading about, and I was also reading about philosophy of medicine, ethics in medicine, the methodologies, okay, evidence-based medicine, science-based medicine, the statistics of Bayesian logic versus the frequentist, and so on and so forth. It was joyous all around. And as I was reading about Chinese medicine, um, I was reading about the spleen and the spleen and the liver, but basically the spleen. And there was a joke about the spleen that runs through practitioners that when a patient comes with something to do with the spleen, it's kind of like the patient thinks it's hereditary. And when they describe the family, it's like, well, my father used to get drunk and get angry. My grandfather used to get drunk and get angry. We get drunk and get angry in our family. Okay, I don't remember exactly how it went, um, but it was kind of like the joke pushing of like it's like plucking from the core with the root the entire concept of this is hereditary. You cannot heal this to there were certain ancestral habits and cultural context historically that was going from father to son or from mother to daughter, from father to son, from father to son, from father to son. And now you need to change that, but there is an emotional connection or this just a belief that this is the ways of your family. It's like almost going against the grain with your ancestors um, to heal that. And and that was just that, okay, that was just dealing with hereditary conditions. And when I was dealing with my mental health after having the crisis, like the financial crisis, like we were all going through things and relationship issues that who didn't deal with one toxic relationship in their life, if not many, many, many. um, so the question of hereditary diseases or the mental condition as a hereditary disease it came into play, and I was like, no, I don't think that you can't cure my ailment, even though uh, that was what I read all that when I was looking into PTSD, and then the diagnosis around that. So you can get a borderline and mood disorders, and schizophrenia is now the new candy. Every time they have a new candy, okay, once was borderline. Later, when we were talking about gaslighting, then we're saying, oh, this narcissist person. So when when you try to warn from red flags, then okay, you say, okay, this narcissist person. It doesn't matter if the person is narcissist or the person is a table. Like you want to identify what's not working for you and move on, in as much as you can. But then you go into the generations, or your upbringing, or all around you, and now with Pluto and Saturn, that's the entire system that was built around a lot of psychological control. That from today's perspective, we look at that and we say, no, 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 this is abuse, this is violent, this is oppressive. There's this short about Generation Z that goes like with that, that's offensive. So now we're like, that's offensive. But back in the days, that was the way to control people. That was the way to have order. That was the way to run a regime or to run a family. And if you go to countries where they ask you to obey by the rules, I'm half Dutch, we are already beginning to go back. So in Netherlands culture, there's a dissonance that is so crazy because everybody is a free thing. Oh my God, now, only now when I'm speaking about it, I understand how it translates in my relations. Um, so this is a very like personal story oriented. If you're if you're opting for something else, just look up some other videos that I have. Yeah, right. So that's the disclaimer. And anyways, everybody is like a free spirit, a free thinker. I'm a citizen of the world, like that, which I love about Holland. Like you go to the Oranje Kerk, you have in the pipe in Amsterdam, and you have the crescent moon of the Islam, the Star of David of the Jews, and of course the cross and the pride flag. And literally, there are churches where you would see the pride flag, or we would go into a church with a Moroccan friend, and the imam opened the door of the church to have some like social team stuff. And there was just this pride flag hanging there from another occasions that said, "We are proud of you," in the church. And I was like, have I died and reached to heaven? Um, so on the one hand, there's this very open-mindedness, radical acceptance, and then on the other hand, you're very much expected to obey the rules. Just be like, I was in a shelter there, and we wore masks, of course, because it was the GGD, it was the Municipality of Health Shelter. And what they told us, like, if you're sitting, you can take the mask off your face and just wear it on your chin, under your chin. But if you walk in the room, just walking around in the room, you have to put the mask on your nose. Like if you're not moving, you can take off the mask. If you're if you're moving, you have to put it on. And one person said, well, like, what's that to do with COVID? And the lady said, well, it's nothing to do with COVID. These are the rules. And I found that to be just wow. Whoa. So if you think about the generations, or perhaps the context in which such cultures were created, if you have a family, if you have like a big family, you don't have time to explain to every child what is the rationale of the rule. You just want them to be ordered. So you want them to sit, you give them a rule. Okay, you give them the carrot and the stick. Okay, the carrot, like you can take off the mask if you sit, but you have to put the mask on if you. And so people are not moving around, and you can watch them. Okay, if that's your children, like if you're living in Netherlands, your child can just pop in the canal, and if that's in the winter, you know. Um, so you can see how the surroundings and how the historical culture is shaped by the context of the times. But now it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. You're not even doing anything for my health. You're just trying to control me, and my freedom of movement is like unnecessary. So Another example of that is frenzy, and what frenzy taught a parent of how to deal with the anger and aggression they felt when they were dealing with their child. Sometimes the parent is tired, sometimes the parent has had it, okay? And what frenzy offered to the parent of how to deal with that aggression without lashing at the child, which was to his time very progressive, is now considered microaggression, and rightfully so, because we understand that the effect that it has, it's like to take off your anger in small activities that are not, that are indirect, and not to like fully blown, like, beat your child. To his times, he was insanely advanced, insanely advanced. But today we understand this is microaggression, a red flag for what people, call narcissism, and gaslighting. Okay, because like you don't hear that you're angry, but you're expressing your anger in an indirect way that get the other person to be completely psychologically unnerved, totally unvalidated, and incredibly lonely. And they do feel your anger, but they can't process it today as Francie hoped that he could. So is Francie, a bad psychologist? No, he was a good psychologist to his time. Um, and the spleen story um, relates to that, as the spleen is also love, the sugar levels, love, and the ability to absorb it. So when you have some generational habit that make you feel unloved, you can fall into obsession, addiction, feeling rejected. And this is very much a chronic wound when I think about it. Again, I'm not a Chinese medicine practitioner. Okay, my certification is in aromatherapy, and I'm not like, I know some about medical astrology. I'm not certified in medical astrology. I will read your chart, but I will lean on my certification. I will lean on interviewing you and getting the whole picture. This is just me listening to my own story and kind of picking the Chiron thing and like, oh damn, I did not imagine that would fit so correctly with Chiron. And so um, recently, I have managed to heal two issues that I had, like two fingers that I had issues with, a fungal infection that I was carrying for quite a while, a healing that took me in magnificent places that I will elaborate on another episode. Um, which I think we totally need to talk about. What's more Pluto in Saturn sign than a fungal infection? Fungal Pluto Saturn nails, and also when we just say the term fungal infection, there is this shame around this. It's not aesthetic. It's something that you want to hide. It's something you feel ashamed talking about, like, oh, this is gross. But that's just Pluto stuff, right? We definitely want to normalize talking about our well-being. Um, so a funny thing like that can be like, you know a taboo for some weird reasons. And so when I began to channel, I had the pinky, like the pinky toe, healed, and then I went through a lot with the second one to yeah, like the second one, um, and eventually like this, like nearly, like this almost totally healed, um, with a lot of changes. And that's interesting in itself. What that initiated, as I was learning about being a holistic health practitioner, what is holistic medicine, then I realized that these small things like toenail fungi, which I would consider as just aesthetics, It's like, okay, I'll clean that stuff, then it'll go away or whatnot. Those are actually signs, and the feet are where we're heading in life. I have Pisces ascendant, so this Jupiter ruled. No, Pisces rules the feet. The feet and Jupiter, the ruler, is in Saturn's sign. So nails in the feet, right? Um, and the nails tell me if I'm in the right direction in life, because the Jupiter is the ruler of my ascendant. Um, and that story was very interesting, as my teacher told me that the essential oils that I'm using are not fully absorbed in my body because of the medications that I'm prescribed. And so I went on a journey to reduce the prescription, which I had to do all by myself, and that is incredibly dangerous. And you know, if you think about the Dreyfus J'accuse the psychiatric system that the person has to do this process all alone, um, if they're priced out of private medicine. So, and sometimes, like even with private medicine, because you should not ever have to deal with reducing and eliminating psychiatric prescribed pills alone. That like no. Fortunately, I'm alive. Fortunately, like, but yeah. Um, so imagine that when Neptune is on my ascendant, and I would soon realize that what these pills that I was given were doing were shutting the body from actually absorbing love and moving forward in life, um, which is insanely difficult. And yeah, I was just thanking Lara today for talking about. She invited a psychologist that also talks about the 8th and the 12th house and how psychic attack can be misdiagnosed as schizophrenia. I believe this is not misdiagnosis, but schizophrenia is actually psychic attack. And you can see it by open dialogue approach. It's a Finnish approach that helps people cope with non-dual experiences, what I call non-dual experiences, um, in the way of validation, engaging with the content, and of course changing their lives so that whatever voices or whatnot or channelings that they do, basically your channeling, will be effective and nourishing and supportive of them. And and that was so beautiful to like watch this episode today that dealt with like 12th house things and 8th house things, um, and a great closure. So there was just one story, and then I turned to my booty on, which I had since like ever since I remember myself, um, and I read about the holistic meaning of that, and I found when I went to go and find a treatment, everybody told me only a surgery. And I'm very glad I didn't listen, because even if you go through a surgery, that can repeat. And so I went and bought this night, whatever is like a night. You're supposed to put it in the night, but I actually put it during the day. And I keep my feet rested, so that I can sleep at night, because I can't sleep with it at night. And I was curious about. I found that when I put it, I think differently. It's like my mind and my heart is aligned. I have more joy in my life, and lo and behold, I bought it on a Jupiter day. Not surprising. Um, and of course, make the investments like with Jupiter in Aries is a very entrepreneurial investment. It's like, I don't know what am I going to eat, but I'm going to take care of that investment for my feet, like good shoes, proper, support for me for my feet, and then see maybe I can like how will I move forward, because if I just worry about my next meal and if I just invest money in my next meal, then I'm not breaking a cycle, uh, and and that's just the opportunity of Jupiter in Aries. The moon was going over Jupiter in Aries, and I decided, yeah, I'm going to invest that money um, to do that. Which, like, the way that it happened is also quite interesting. But what I read when I looked into the holistic meaning of Bunyan, because I'm so curious about these things, I realized that that has something to do with the father, relationship with the father. It's protection over the heart, because the toe, the big toe, it's like the mind and the head. I believe it's like Jupiter issues, but I'm not sure. And of course, feel like the direction where we head in the direction in life, and having that, this is the first meridian. Um, it kind of, it feels like kind of a heart opening but aligned with the mind. um, and I feel more calm, relaxed, able to absorb joy, able to be joyous. So I find it really fascinating, and I learned later that there are exercises that you can do for your feet. So I'm slowly beginning that, and indeed I noticed like emotional things coming up. I had like I had a dream where I felt that the true me was unloved by my parents, and I know that's like a Chiron purging dream, um, that felt like a nightmare. Um, and even though I'm very much supported today by my parents, um, but that was not always the case. As for everyone, okay, this is not a blame my parents video. Absolutely not. I'm proud of my parents. Very appreciative of my parents, but um, the story with this is that as the finger, the toe, the big toe, kind of like the bunions, when the big toe kind of goes towards the rest of the fingers, and what it does, it pushes the meridian of the spleen outside. And as I read the meridian of the spleen, I was cracking, because I would tell that spleen joke on and on and on and on and on. And again, I'm not a TCM practitioner. I'm a holistic health practitioner. I'm not a TCM practitioner. So I would tell that meridian joke all the time, not knowing that I'm dealing with that, and that is, um, and the bunions are considered hereditary. And if you look at it, like if I would look at one of my parents' feet, they also have something like that. Um, yeah, my grandmother had diabetes, so I'm like, it seemed hereditary, right? Wrong. And that's the teaching of TCM. Yes, you went through a heartbreaking experience that altered your mechanisms of defense, and you desire expansion so much that you're not in balance of contraction and expansion. Okay, Saturn, Jupiter. And this healing happens to me after I've asked for a while to be in good balance of contraction and expansion in my life and in my body, and so on and so forth. Um, so I was receiving in channelings like get rid of the bunyan. And I didn't think it's possible. Again, look, the mental condition, okay? Feeling always like you always have to protect yourself. Stressed, not relaxed. The structure, the foundations of your life are crooked. In my natal chart, if you're a medical astrologist, so I have Jupiter retrograde in Saturn sign in Capricorn in my 11th house with whole sign houses, with Saturn in the 9th house retrograde in Scorpio. And of course, that means Saturn rules my 12th house too. Saturn is currently going through my 12th house in the 28th degree. And I'm finishing my Saturn maturation, Saturn square. So of course I'm going to have a tremendous healing maturity, doing something that I'm like, how didn't I do that before? Relating to Saturn. Saturn is about to enter my first house of Pisces. So I'm dealing at least with the mental, okay, 12th house, with the mental state of the structure, my bone structure, my nails, my hair, my skin, and I still have work to do with my nails and my teeth and so, and how my bone health, my teeth health, my hair health, my nails health, how it is related with my mental health, with my disposition, with my worldview. And that can be both top down and emergence. Okay, if my consciousness is askew, then it will affect the body. But also, when the body is askew, that affects the consciousness. And when you interfere in the level of the consciousness, you can later interfere in the level of the body or vice versa. Okay, this, my view of consciousness allows for top-down and emergence. My theoretical background for my thesis proposal, but the thesis proposal was approved. I was just wanting to do something practical, praxis, because I didn't feel comfortable writing a whole thesis about medicine, which is an applied science, without having any experience with treating patients. Um, so I learned aromatherapy because I couldn't like do, I don't know, TCM or MD or whatnot. And that issue of like having a bunyan, where everybody said, well, only having operation, only that works, and not even that works. Even when I bought these night bone holders that kind of adjust the feet, the big toe to its place, and they can take the other, like the other first toe with it. Um, I had to tell the shopkeepers like I want to buy it anyway, because they were like, only a surgery, only a so you can use that before a surgery, after a surgery to kind of help you, but only a surgery fixes that. And I was like, well, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of having a surgery, and so I'll at least do what I can. And as I learned, being the holistic, the TCM connection, I was like, okay. I, I, oh, I also read testimonials of people who made the surgery and that kept coming back. So there's a holistic understanding. Um, yeah. So that is very fascinating and very exciting. And that's the funny way in which a lot of science can come in everything, like work with the feet. I was at the airport doing like manifestations and stuff, and somebody told me like, do it by feet if you have to. And I took that doing by feet, and I was like playing, it's the word play of feet, where you learn to fly a plane and then you have to look at how many feet you are from the ground, and leaning to the feet. So as above, so below. The more I ground myself, the more I find myself at the airport or learning about the air. I know now the gravity, while Pluto entering Aquarius. Um, so all of these things coming, and I get, the gift. And also what helped is I did Neptune work. Okay, I honored Neptune in my life, and honoring Neptune in my life, when Neptune is my ascendant, and asking for, the people whose voice was not heard, the people who are missing, attending to that, kind of like it's like I got the gift in return, that I'm healing the sense of joy in my life that was missing, in a healthy way. Okay, actually, when I was recovering from PTSD, CPTSD, am recovering, right? So one of the diagnoses was a mood disorder, and every time I felt joyful, I was afraid because I was taught to be afraid of not going into mania. And so having a sense of joy in my life that is genuine, yeah, not manic joy, but just joy, happiness, was something was hard to come by. And I didn't even have a reference for that. So the fixing the bouillon, or at least tending to fix the bouillon, already opens up the gap and releases the tension from the spleen meridian and the tension from your feet. And then there are actually, you can go to heal, or heal your bunion, and you get like physiotherapy, and exercises you can do. And this is important when you understand how important it is for your mental disposition, for healing your relations around the sun soul. Okay, I have in my natal chart Saturn Sun opposition. Um, the heart, soul, sun, and the head, you know, the are were shaped out of alignment in the bone structure. Okay, but this is also understanding how the mental health can affect your bones, to the bone. Okay, your mindset, it affects your body to the bone. So when you heal yourself, when you intervene, when you allow, you do something with the body that opens up for the mind, so the mindset changes your body from the bone. Bone structure, of course, is Saturn. It takes time, but it's so important to tend to that, whether you do surgery or not doing surgery, because this what you need to look at is the relationship with all of your father figures, uh, mm, the sun people in your life in astrology. Anybody who plays the sun in your life, anybody who plays Saturn in your life, heart and head alignment is important. Spleen, so self-love, sugar cravings. Okay, so healing sugar cravings, healing diabetes. Um, if there is already inflammation, I managed to treat that before there was inflammation, but if there's already inflammation, then it's a hot, there's also Mars people in your life. Um, and right now, Jupiter is in Aries with Chiron, Venus applying to it, Jupiter applying to Chiron again in its direct motion. Um, so they expect emotional purging to happen, but also tremendous happiness. And what I do with this night, like I bought the like night thingy that fixes your toe. Um, what I recommend is actually do it during the day. For me, it was one day that I went to the airport and I was doing a lot of manifestation work and tackling my financial situation and working, creating options with people. So I woke up during the sunrise, shoved myself out of bed, and I, came back in the evening, and I loved that. I enjoyed every minute of that. It was an amazing day. And the next day, I was shooting myself out of bed again, wanting to do the same thing all over again. Excited for the day, but I could not stand on my feet. And I was like, gee, I didn't even walk all that much. Um, but I could not stand on my feet. And then the next day, I bought like these bouillon things. Um, so I can't tell it all because both because there are things that it's very difficult to tie down. We would be spending hours. Um, but this is just to give you a bit of a taste of what holistic medicine is like, and how tending to our body alters our lives, and how altering our lives alters our body. Because It's all related. Okay, Jupiter in Aries, so Aries is an active sign. Mars in Gemini, Mars is Gemini rules the fingers. Okay, Mars rules action. It also rules fixing things, fixing something broken. One of the ways that I was honoring Mars, um, everything that was broken in my house. Again, I have Gemini in the fourth house, so it was remedy for my own house. I was given to Mars altar. Everything that was broken in my house was given to a Mars altar. Um, so it's like I was given Mars things to fix. And so, surprisingly enough, I fixed something that is Jupiter related, okay? Um, the heart, that's also affecting the lungs, and the head, the mindset, the philosophy, joy, Jupiter, sense of joy, heading in the right direction, being more open to change my opinions, to change, to grow, okay, so not to be so stagnant, um, but also to state my like my boundaries if needed, to protect myself if needed. And there is also exercise for the fingers that I have to do. I have to do the exercise for my toenails, which I'm slowly learning to do, and it helps the nervous system to separate the big toe from the rest of the toes and kind of work them. And it's so exciting and actually arousing. I am like very satisfied with that. If you have any way in any way self pleasure kink fetishes with feet, I totally recommend doing these exercises. um, so yeah, and I just like the fact that I was telling that joke about the spleen, not even knowing that I am dealing with the spleen meridian being having to go back into alignment. Okay, and funnily enough, the teacher that I was taking the second course with aromatherapy and the chakras, her uniqueness was that she talked about the spleen chakra. She was introducing to us the spleen chakra. And it's like everything in around the feet. Um, and that was just so like the gate opened for me to treat that and to be able to tend to that. And it's also important because it's Jupiter related to um, have initiation, um, initiation perhaps, but intention, prayer, okay, and combine these things um, because we just like beta blockers, okay. And it's very much related because when you are having this condition, it's both the result of experiences where you didn't have like you screamed out for help and you nobody listened. Um, Actually, I had some experience like that that just not at all like abuse trauma. It's just I had uh, closed the door of the building with the leg when I was 9. I was taking my dog out and I had a ball in my head, and I was told to close the door of the building so it wouldn't come out, and I closed it with my leg, and I thought I was being tender, but the glass broke on me, so I thought I'm guilty. And the trigger, gore trigger, so that you don't faint, skip this part if you're tending to faint like me. Um, so I basically like a piece of my flesh was out, and I just climbed 3 stories, and I'm like blaming myself, and then the miracle of conventional medicine came into being because I thought, how can I solve this thing? I looked at my leg and it's like half of the flesh, like a part of the flesh was missing, and I was like, that can't be sorted out. I was 9, so I didn't feel the pain. Um, the only time I felt the pain, then they packed it with ice, and then two actually gay couple helped us, which was great because it would prove out great that like whatever, which has to do with actually a part of the site that of me that had a problem to be accepted in the family. Um, and was accepted in my fatherland, like going to a church, seeing the pride flag. So even though to me it's more the gender than maybe well, I just saw that, and then I had to go through like the anesthesia that you put like, and it hurts because it's in the muscle, and they injected, and I screamed my lungs out. Like it again, it was not an abusive circumstances at all. The person who injected said it hurts, but I have to do this, and I was a child. It was like completely okay, but it hurt, and I screamed, and then I go out after they stitched it, and I go out, and everybody tells me, "You were so brave. We didn't hear you at all." And me thinking, I screamed my lungs out. Nobody heard. Okay? So that's just one experience. The next time I nearly died, there was something in my, like, ice in my throat. And then in the middle of like the school free time, and everybody was around. I had ice in my throat. Nobody looked at me. People were minding their own business, and I couldn't call for help. Fortunately, I managed to spit it out somehow, all alone. No witness that that ever happened. I nearly died. And when I think about Neptune on my ascendant with what happened to me with the beta blockers, was that it caused sugar drops. I went to the ER. They gave me some fluid, like water injection or something, and they sent me away. And they said, well, there's something with the liver, probably because of the medication. Poof, sent me away. And it was lucky that they didn't hospitalize me, because then I would be treated with pills for diabetes, which I don't have. It was just the pills, and when I took them off, this was with a lot of channeling reversed. So like I was on the verge of death. I could die at any second for like 2 weeks, and that was like no more of these for me. And only after I quit that, I learned that they contain beta blockers, which actually what it does, it's also given to heart patients, people who had heart attack or heart condition. And what it does, it silences the signals of the body that you need help. Okay, that's why they give it to heart condition, so that you won't have a heart attack. But what your heart is trying to signal is, I need help, and so you die. Just no, and that's the medication. um, so there are things that conventional medicine can do, like me having a part of my flesh out, and being able to stitch it, and being able to walk. My mama said, you can't be a model. Not that I wanted to be a model at this stage, but it was like, well, you won't be able to be a model, and but that's okay. And but that's a miracle of conventional medicine. um, that being said, giving beta blockers to people who had a trauma of their voice not being heard, crying for help, and not being heard at life risking situations, so violence, trauma, or even simple stuff like having a chunk of ice in your throat, and in the middle of like not alone, not even alone, with many people around you. Nobody sees that. You can't call for help. After a while, it's gone. And if you try to tell somebody that happened, nobody would believe you. Talk about how that replays a lot of the experiences of childhood sexual trauma, which unfortunately I can attest to the similarity of some of these experiences. Um, but that circumstances, you go to the doctor, and they just give you that thing And even when I went to buy this thing for my feet, they showed me two things, and I was like, no, that was uncomfy. That was uncomfy. I'm looking for the night thing. Who told me about this was my belly dancing teacher a while ago. She told me about that, but that was very expensive because it's private, and I didn't have the money to buy private things. And then because in my head, I got stuck with private medicine is expensive, and it is expensive, okay? Private medicine is expensive, that I didn't even think, okay? I can buy this. I didn't even think. But now it was like, no, I'm going to do that. I don't know what will I eat. I'm going to do that. First I'll do that and then I'll get healthy and it opens my mind and who knows what happens with the rest of my food and wealth. Like maybe I open up channels that I can do things that I wasn't able to do before. At least my life experience is so much improved, and actually my nutrition too, I have to admit, which I didn't think was possible for me. So, and not because I don't care about the topic. So it's just so fascinating, um, how even in the place that sold this, and I bought the last two that they had, they were telling me no, like only surgery, like only do only surgery, like even the people who sell you the thing that can assist you, even they tell you that like that doesn't work. Well, in fact, even I fortunately I don't need a surgery right now, and I plan not to. Like I plan to heal and do the exercises for what I need to do, and so on and so forth. Miraculous healing. Um, but the fact is that even if you went and did that surgery, it could repeat itself, and then you would have to look at the other factors. Okay, um, so that is, and by the way, when this whole thing that happened to me in the past year or two is happening with Pluto going on and about my lot of fortune, which also relates to health conditions that are fated. Okay, and now Pluto in the 29th degree, finally aspecting the moon. Okay, the moon trine is still separating from a trine to that Pluto in Capricorn. I was also thinking about beginning to think about the passage of Neptune in Pisces, but it's a bit early because we still have 2 years for that. Yeah, the midheaven here around Mars, so very Mars related. And oh, and the Bunyan, it happens to women more than to men, and it happens to women with excess yang. And you know, I've been talking about Aries with the E in Aries and her Martian attitude, and Venus in Aries, okay? Who is the make it happen, the go getter, the woman who is very assertive, the Xena, the warrior. Um, and indeed, I had to be this person, this figure in my life, because to be soft, to be feminine, not instead of these sides, like absolutely not. Like being more, receptive is not about not being assertive. You actually need to be assertive so that you can relax and enjoy life. And yeah, I've set boundaries in my life so much so that, just I just cut off my life any system, people, groups, even the support sources. If anything demanded me to do something not in my boundaries, I just shut it out of my life. And then I'm receiving this help, that I have joy in my life, that I'm able to relax. Uh, and so this bunyan can happen to women that were forced to be the men in their own lives in many cases, which is a lot of women. Not to say that men don't suffer, of course they do. But that is statistically, at least according to what I read, I don't know if it is true, because also if I think about the men in my life, they were also forced to be the men in their own lives, and in many ways, and the issues with the father is also something that the man has, not just the woman. And gender is not just man and woman. I myself have more than one gender, right? Um, so Yes, there is also this vertex thingy. Oh well. Uranus is not making any aspects except to. Oh no, it's. Oh, it's making a aspect to Mercury. So technology. Okay, and this is a patent. Okay, what I'm wearing on my feet is a patent. So there's a patent that saved the day. It's not a new patent. The funny thing is, I'm energy sensitive. It is made in Germany, Münster, and I keep having like things, just like the wellness in Europe coming up, like the Baden-Baden, the wellness in Switzerland, like all kinds of things, which is fascinating. And I'm like, I'm living near the Dead Sea, so why is it like, hey, that I don't know, but it's fun and I like it. Um, but I guess Baden-Baden, because it is so expensive, it is so luxurious and luxurious wellness. So I guess that is, and indeed, when I bought it was like Aries Canal is also the first, the best. So what I bought, the shoe that I needed was, because of this bullion problem, was the widest New Balance shoe. And this brand plays a role in my life actually. I had uh, these pair of shoes. The last time I bought them was by donation when I was in university, and I asked also for shoes. My computer went out and the welfare wouldn't support, so I asked for a generous fund, and they gave me that and the bed and the shoes that were New Balance. Um, so New Balance is very interesting. I don't know. It's not. I don't get anything from them. I would love to. I'm very open. So if you're, if they want to offer me something, I'm very very open to suggestions with that. I would need to learn. I would need to learn more about the brand and more about the process and the produce. Like how is it produced? Who produces it? To make sure the exploitation free, fair trade, and so on and so forth. Um, and so the shoe had to be wider, and it was the most expensive shoe of the shoes that I got for free when I did the supportive, like ordered the supportive thingy. And I have to wait 3 weeks until I can wear the shoes because they personally adjust the what you wear under the sole of the feet. I don't know how do you call it in English. So midras we call it in Hebrew. Um, and so that like there's going to be a delay around it. And think about Saturn in Pisces. It's going to be in around 3 weeks. I think Saturn is already in Pisces when I get that. So here is my remedy for Saturn in Pisces. Tending to the structure, the bone structure, the nails of my feet. I have a gift that my nails are being healed. The bone structure, and by the way, one of my nails, like the big toe nails, a bit broke. And yeah, definitely want to pamper them. So that's definitely the beginning of turning to Saturn and having to rest a lot more. Because I used to say I cannot stand for 1 second, but I can walk for miles. And now I have to rest more, and I have to be more attentive. But I also absorb a lot of joy, and there are many ways you can work your body out. It doesn't have to only be, walking. And I was never a good runner, only in my childhood. Um, Actually, I think when Saturn approached my was in my first house. I was, I think, in fourth grade, and I again nearly died by making a gymnastic exercise with that was too rash and I had to slow down. And again, there was no witnesses, so nobody could save me. I saved myself, and poof, I am here today. Also, there were the problem of children throwing stones Then I found my power, but I was so afraid, like I don't like violence around me, and I had to protect myself. But I ended up like being the person that everybody is afraid of. Um, but yeah, it was very difficult. Um, but also, that was the time where I couldn't run as fast as I used to. Only a gymnastic a person who did gymnastic, like as profession almost, only she could beat me before that. And I was the second best runner of my school, which is a horror. I wanted to be the first. And after that, I couldn't run around the block. I don't know. Like, I just became older. So I'm having Saturn in my first house. I have more mature disposition. I've already had the phase where I could barely walk, I could barely this from trauma, and now I'm like, okay, I'm tending to my feet, I'm allocating my energy differently, I'm asking to be in good balance of expansion and contraction in my life, and I'm materializing things. So definitely that's a gift to Saturn, and I had to pay with checks because I didn't have the money right away for the shoes and the things. So the shoe went out. It was the most expensive shoe. It is called New Balance, and I had to pay with checks. Um, so it was very interesting, and I bought it myself. Okay, it was not what the Krankenkasse. Okay, what the I think you call it HMO in the United States if you're American watching this, um, um, where you go to the HMO. That HMO does not support this, and funnily enough, I actually have to pay the HMO for the insurance and compare health insurances again. So I bought my own medicine privately, and it turned out so far to be even more successful than I thought. And I have then the previous New Balance shoes there were donation. This one there were a gift when I did the soul thingy, um, and only because I bought the yeah, and only because I bought it they let me pay for the other um, Bunyan separator with checks, because the first one I bought with cash, it was the cash that I saved for my food, but I was like, no, I'm going to buy it, and I will eat some vegetables with what I have, and I have some food that I can cook at home, and I want to make a breakthrough. And the second one I already had to pay with checks, which funnily enough, the last check is in the month of my birthday. It's already after my birthday, but it's going to be my birthday, and then I'm going to enter a Mercury year. Of going from Venus year, I will already be in a Mercury year, which will emphasize my fourth and seventh house, and my second house. And Rahu will already be. It will already be after the eclipse. So Rahu will already be in my second house. So the eclipses are going to be in Aries, where my natal Mercury is. So a lot of astrological significations around that I can look at, and then the Aries being, the best, like the best of the best, buying the best of the best, to do with wellness and paying for that, although it's the government's money. But I'm using, in a way, I was joking that with myself. I didn't say it. It's like your tax money comes back to you, okay? Your tax money comes back to you, because when I make a purchase in the private market with the money of the welfare, I give the money to private people who pay taxes when they work. So this is what should be. Okay, this is what should be. What should be is that when we're given welfare, we can make purchases in the private sector. And so if you are working and you're paying taxes, your taxes come back to you when you sell your services. And when a person like me buys from you, then you get your money, like your taxes come back to you. I don't live on your account. It comes back. It's an investment in people that returns to you, both when we pay with the welfare money and when we recover, for heaven's sake. We can, because we can. Um, and that was a very interesting thing that I was thinking about, of how, like, the next New Balance shoes came to me when I was purchasing them with the money that I have, that it was not a donation anymore, even though, right? Like, even though I probably should have used this money for, like, this was money for food, but that was a way to make a breakthrough. It's like, no, I want a breakthrough in my life. I want to treat my feet. If the medical care of the government does not cover for that, then heck, I'll do it myself and I'll find a way to eat. Like, I'll find a way to eat. I've had to steal food before, and I believe, you know what, I'm in good faith that by the grace of God, I won't have to steal food. That I'm actually opening doors for me to gain wealth and to gain like to gain wealth. And I'm also growing a part of my food already. So there's stuff. This is a very gross statement. I have 3 lettuces that are growing so far, which I'm very happy to see. Um, and so this brand new beginning related to that. Um, I, I just find it so interesting the way things come about, this how the story of the health with the story of the astrology and the jokes around, and everything was about legs, feet. And when I had psychic attack, I saw wheelchairs, and a person. I went to the ladies' room, and the signal of the woman in the ladies' room was her feet were amputated, and I was remembering my grandmother who died from diabetes, and she had her feet amputated way before she died, and she was on wheelchair and she was in bed and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, what? And I remembered, after I was doing my praxis, and I left a relationship that turned unhealthy in COVID, and I was like, okay, everybody expects you to work when you can barely lift something. You can barely lift a pen, and people expect you to work. And I'm like, this is working camps. Your rehabilitation is working camps. Arbeit macht frei is not the way to rehabilitate from CPTSD. Yes, of course, I want to be financially independent, but I have to work in a way that nourishes my well-being. Okay, if you are working in the good job in a good way, you will live longer. If you're working in the wrong job or in the right job, even in the wrong way, your life becomes shorter. You become sick. I learned it the hard way. Even when I went to the airport, even then, I was, sun was rising. I shot myself out of bed. I think I brushed my teeth on the way. So excited, enjoyed the whole day. And then the next day, I just wanted to do it all over again. And poof, I couldn't, I did it, but I was already sitting in public transportation with my legs lifted up, and the things that are about to separate the next day. My bunyan actually assisted me to be seen. Some lady at the bus was being very kind to me. She was like, probably what's most difficult for you with that is the stairs. And I told her, no, actually, I feel seen, because before that, nobody believed me that I have problems with my feet. I didn't want to sign unemployment. I wanted to work, and there were now jobs like not on your feet or not talking the whole day long. Um, and I was not believed. And so later I was acknowledged as a mental case, with yeah, whatnot, like terrifying things. I'm not saying that because I'm in the house of my parents, but um, this is so, and as I'm wearing the just putting on separators to separate the bone to the back to its place. Um, Having all this realization, the first thing I thought was like, I think a lot of mental ailment is about not being seen and believed. So when a person's not being seen and believed, then they develop mental, it worsens the mental condition. Um, and how unaccessible is that to a NOVA statistic frequentist model of evidence-based medicine, which sounds like a sexy name, but it just means that you try to separate the components, which doesn't seem illogical scientifically, but the body is a holistic unit, and not only that, our body is in tandem. Even in holistic medicine, when I looked at what affects the body or holistically, then the bone structure is the universe. And I'm thinking astrology, I'm thinking Saturn, bones. Okay, Saturn, the lord of time. So in ancient astrology, Saturn was like the outer planet. Okay, now we have Neptune. So it's like hereditary karma. Okay, those things that we now understand. If you think about the science of epigenetics, so being able to control your genetics with your habits and so on, which I don't know enough about. I know I had a person that I knew that was studying that, but I don't know enough about epigenetics. Um, so the what seems so logical, okay, just the components that you do in evidence-based medicine is not compatible with the ontological unit, okay, what will you research that is a human being. I did not feel comfortable to say that as more than a prediction when I was working on my thesis proposal. I'm looking at my own body with my own story, and I'm telling you this now. Oh my God, like, don't ANOVA me, okay? Have you ever seen a patient that takes one pill, one type of medication? Because I have not, and neither have any of the doctors that I've spoken with. Nobody has heard of a person who takes one pill. So how can you test for one pill with your ANOVA that is not even a statistic model that covers any of the components in the unit of a human being? Um, so again, conventional medicine has a lot of things. Like I wouldn't have 13 stitches in my leg covering up for missing part of the flesh without conventional medicine. Okay, and as painful as the shot that I got in my childhood, that nobody heard me screaming my lungs out, it was way less painful than without it because when the stitches, I didn't feel anything, only during the shot, right? So that is a miracle that should be. Okay, people coming out alive from situations where they would die in the cold, that should be. This is what conventional medicine is for. But also we need to be aware and tend to altering and changing so that we don't make a mistake with the conventional medicine, perpetuating the trauma and, of course, killing the life of a person um, when they come to us with a medical problem and we treat it in a way that actually kills the person. Yeah. So, and by the way, if you're wondering, oh, did I sue like the sue anyone there? No, I did not sue anyone there. Also, I don't have evidence for having sugar drops because I had to deal with it all by myself. Except for my neighbors, which I won't take to court. Um, so yeah, this is the story, the feed story for today. I think that was an interesting piece of education and a concrete example that you can use. This chart is the chart where I started this episode. It was Jupiter hour, a Sol day, Sunday, Jupiter hour. But this is already evening. Okay, here it is already evening. So I don't know because there are evening rulers, and I don't know what is the evening night ruler of Sunday. And so that whole thing changes. Um, but yeah, um, thank you for being with me. This was a different episode than the type of content I usually do. Um, and I'd like to do more with Do It by Feet. I'm not sure where and how, but that's honoring of my feet and feet. So I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye. Oh, if you like to receive notifications for when I upload things, then you can subscribe to my channel. Okay. Right now, they don't let you subscribe for individual series, and I don't open a channel for every series. So I have Spirit of Matter, I have Paint About Astrology, and I have Do It by Feet, and I have my forecasts. So it's just receiving notifications about the whole channel and picking the videos that you like to watch. I do have a Patreon page, which I need to. I do have it on my channel. I think I need to put it in the comments. So right now, I believe it would let you make a donation, and when you have enough donations, then um, I guess I can receive money somehow. So that would be great. Um, yeah, and another way you can contribute this channel is, of course, to share it with like-minded people or people who you believe would benefit from this information. The takeaway from this episode, beyond my personal story, is those bunions matter. No, surgery does not eliminate the problem. Maybe sometimes you have to go through one. I don't know. But no, surgery does not eliminate the problem. Yes, it means you need to make a total and complete change in your life so that you can sit more. Yes, there are exercises you can do. And yes, it pertains to so many topics in life history that it's good to tend to and to address. Now with Jupiter Chiron, you might have an excellent time, an excellent opportunity. If you do have that, if you think that, oh, I don't suffer from pain and I don't want a surgery, so there are other things you can do. Um, and it's important that you know about this. Again, this is not medical advice. Okay, it's more knowledge from experience. It's not medical advice simply because I haven't seen you and I cannot give you medical advice, even being a holistic health practitioner, because I don't know you as much as you know yourself. Okay, and I like the word patient because you have to be very patient when you go to a doctor, because they have to ask you so many questions and they don't know what they're doing. They're just learning a dogma, even if it's holistic health practitioner. Okay, you tell me I have pain in my feet. I say, okay, feet, that relates to this, relates to that. Does it work for you? Do we reach something? You say, maybe yes, maybe no. And we need to adjust and we need to go to see how do we interfere, what team of experts do we work with, and so on and so forth. So you have to be patient. Huh? You need to be patient. And so I do like, I am an advocate for the word patient in doctor-patient relations, because I don't know about you more than you. Okay, I know dogma of medicine. And you know, Aquarius, science is dogma. Okay, if Saturn's karma, the science is dogma. However holistic it is, however groundbreaking it is, it's gone from one dogma to another dogma, and it can only be personified when you come into play. Only you know how that relates to you, and we learn about this together. Okay, I have my worldview. I have what I learned, and then you can tell me, does it work for me? Does it not work for me? I might see something and have a really close prediction. I could be completely right, and you see something that you didn't see, but I also can be completely wrong. Okay, and that is something we need to remember. Therefore, you need to be patient when you come to treat yourself and you involve other practitioners in the task. If it is Chiron related, it's very much likely that even if you come to me, I will tell you something. You say, oh, this is very true to me. I'll tell another thing. And you say, oh my God, I tried that and you won't believe it. I had this rash and this, and this, that. And I'm like, heck, I didn't know. Like, okay, then we have to change it. Um, and because of the precision of medicine, there are models that deal with precision medicine. Open to hear about them and learn more about them. And I like the turning of mathematical models that take inspiration from traditional Chinese medicine in diagnosis is something that I'm very excited about. I haven't worked with in praxis, so I'm very open to hear. If you're looking for a system that will bulletproof you from troubles when you're going to the doctor, I don't have any to offer. The only thing I can offer is my a willingness to be sensitive to your case and understand that I don't know everything. Okay, you have to be patient. But anyway, right now, if you are outside of Israel, then I don't think I can treat you because I don't have insurance that covers that, and not working with insurance companies abroad, and that may change in the future, maybe not. Um, so other way you can contribute this channel is by watching and sharing with people, because if I have enough viewers, then I can get paid by YouTube for my content. Um, Sponsors and stuff is something that, because this is medical thing, then I will need to consider what and how. Um, There's a business model that I support that's fully subsidized and fully free. So I would like to enforce that model on private medication so that you can have top quality medical service, holistic and conventional, to people, without anybody being priced out, and that would make medicine even more expensive for those who can afford it, but zero expenses for those who cannot, without compromising the quality of treatment that you receive, and without being dependent on a government to do so. Not because I don't think governments should do the same, but because governments tend to do that when they have a competition, and if we pose a competition to these governments, they have something to aspire to, and so they can compete with the private sector better. It's trying to put Pluto and Aquarius into action before it actually entered Aquarius. There probably are a lot of things that I haven't considered in this model. So I am willing to hear about taking on sponsors if they are working with this type of model, and I would need to see that the place is fair trade. So from from the product, from producing to conceptualizing, and from honoring the people who come up with the patents, and honoring labor and honoring everyone involved. So um, yeah, that's it's something I'm open to. And then there is also the desire to be valid, and how to deal with that, and with the conflict of interests. Because if I'm a private practitioner and I sell you something for your feet and I sell it, then on the one hand you want that to be available for you. On the other hand, of course, there can be conflict of interests. So I'm working this out myself. Okay, with aromatherapist, I don't really have this problem, because you come to me knowing that what I do is, my oils is essential to my practice. But when I think about more holistically, recommending this or recommending that, right now, no money changes hands. So it's no problem to say that. But when money begins to change hands, then I don't want to lose the quality of service that I offer or advocate for. Anyway, have a great evening, morning, and whatnot, and do it by feet. Ciao.